Captain Jason Drake maneuvered quietly through the damp corridors of the Zarathos prison complex, his boots silent against the cold, metallic floor. The air was thick with the acrid smell of ionized barriers and unwashed bodies. Beside him, his trusted second-in-command, Sergeant Rick Torres, kept an equally vigilant watch. "This place gives me the creeps, Captain," Torres whispered, his rifle scanning the shadows. "Why exactly are we here again?" Jason kept his eyes on the dimly lit path ahead. "Intel suggests there's something valuable here, something non-military. Higher-ups are tight-lipped about it, but they want eyes on the ground." As they approached a high-security sector of the prison, unusual for its isolation from the main inmate population, Jason felt a strange energy pulsing through the walls. It was unlike anything he'd encountered before. "Torres, do you feel that?" Jason asked, pausing to investigate a faint hum resonating through the air. "Yeah, it's like the air's charged. Never felt this in other blocks," Torres replied, looking uneasy. They reached a reinforced door marked with glyphs neither of them recognized, an unusual sight, as Jason prided himself on his knowledge of alien languages. "Drake to base, we've encountered some kind of specialized containment unit. Requesting further instructions." Jason spoke into his communicator, waiting for a crackling response. "Proceed with caution, Captain. Secure any intel you can. Extraction team is on standby," the voice from the communicator directed. With a nod to Torres, Jason punched in the override codes they had been given for the mission. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing a dimly lit cell that starkly contrasted with the rest of the facility's harsh fluorescent lighting. Inside, sitting against a cold, metallic wall, was a figure that immediately drew their attention. It was a young girl, her skin a vivid shade of blue, with bright, intricate patterns running along her arms. Her hair was a stark red, flowing and untamed, cascading over her slender shoulders. She looked up, her eyes meeting Jason's, a mix of fear and defiance in her gaze. "Who are you? Why are you here?" Her voice was melodic yet firm, echoing slightly in the small chamber. Jason stepped forward, lowering his weapon. "I'm Captain Jason Drake, and this is Sergeant Rick Torres. We're not here to harm you. We're soldiers, yes, but we're also here to gather information. Can you tell us why you're being held like this?" The girl's chains rattled softly as she shifted. "My name is Lysara. I am here because I am different. My people are gone, hunted for our abilities. The Kren fear what they cannot control." Torres looked at Jason, his expression serious. "Captain, we can't just leave her here. It doesn't feel right." Jason nodded, the decision clear in his mind but complicated by protocol. "Lysara, we might be able to help you, but you need to tell us everything. Why would your abilities scare the Kren enough to lock you up here?" Lysara hesitated, then slowly began to speak of her people, the iari, known for their ability to manipulate energy fields, a rare skill coveted by many. As she spoke, Jason sensed the gravity of the situation. They had stumbled upon a prisoner whose very existence could alter the balance of power in the galaxy. The conversation was cut short by the sound of alarms blaring through the prison. "Looks like our visit didn't go unnoticed," Torres said, readying his weapon. "We need to move now," Jason decided swiftly. "Lysara, we're getting you out of here. Can you walk?" As they prepared to escape, Lysara nodded, a flicker of hope lighting her features. "Yes, I can walk." With that, the unlikely trio made their way out of the cell, ready to face whatever forces the Kren might throw at them. This was no longer just a reconnaissance mission. It was a rescue. The alarms blared relentlessly as Jason, Torres, and Lysara hastened through the increasingly chaotic corridors of the Zarathos prison complex. The once silent halls now resonated with the clanking of heavy boots and the distant shouts of Kren guards mobilizing to intercept them. "Stay close," Jason instructed, leading the way with his weapon raised. Lysara, despite her apparent frailty, kept pace, her chains clinking softly with each hurried step. Torres kept glancing back, ensuring they weren't being followed just yet. "We need a plan, Captain. We can't just shoot our way out of a Kren prison." Jason's mind raced as he considered their options. "There's an old service tunnel on the east wing. It's less guarded but tricky to navigate. If we can reach it, we might stand a chance." Lysara's voice, surprisingly calm amidst the chaos, interrupted his thoughts. "I can help. My abilities aren't just for show. I can sense energy flows. I might be able to disrupt the prison's internal sensors temporarily." Torres looked skeptical, but nodded. "Better than nothing. Lead the way, Captain." As they turned a corner, they nearly collided with a patrol of Kren guards. Without hesitation, Jason and Torres engaged, their training taking over as they provided cover for Lysara. The skirmish was brief, but intense, with Jason taking a moment to appreciate the strange, almost ethereal calm with which Lysara observed the conflict. Once the guards were down, they continued their escape, reaching the entrance to the service tunnel. It was less imposing than the main corridors, a narrow passage dimly lit by flickering lights. "Here goes nothing," Torres muttered as they entered the tunnel. Lysara closed her eyes, concentrating. A subtle hum filled the air, and the lights flickered more violently before going dark entirely. "I've disrupted the circuitry, but it won't last long," she warned, opening her bright, alert eyes. In the pitch-black tunnel, Jason relied on his night vision goggles to lead the way. The cramped space was stifling, filled with the musty odor of disuse. They moved quickly, aware that every second counted. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed behind them as the tunnel lights snapped back on, and the sound of approaching guards grew louder. "They're onto us," Torres announced, checking his weapon for the next inevitable confrontation. Jason found an old maintenance hatch and pried it open. "Through here," he directed, helping Lysara and Torres scramble through the tight opening. They emerged into a secondary shaft that ran parallel to the main tunnel system. As they made their way through the secondary shaft, the sounds of the guards faded, replaced by the distant hum of the prison's central operations. They were not out yet, but they had a moment to catch their breath. Jason checked his communicator, trying to contact their extraction team. "This is Drake. We need immediate extraction from the East Quadrant, service exit 3. The reply was swift and terse. "Acknowledged, Captain. We're on our way. ETA 10 minutes. Turning to Lysara, Jason's expression softened. "You're doing great. Just hold on a little longer." Lysara nodded, her gaze meeting his. "Thank you for believing in me," she said, her voice laced with gratitude and a newfound determination. As they approached the designated extraction point, the tension among them grew. Each shadow seemed a potential threat, each noise a possible discovery. But Jason's leadership and Lysara's uncanny ability to sense their pursuers helped them avoid further encounters. Finally reaching the exit, they stepped out into the cool night air of Zarathos. The extraction ship was already there, its engines humming softly as it hovered low to the ground. "Move! Move!" Jason urged as they sprinted towards the ship. They boarded just as the sound of alarms reached a fever pitch, signaling their pursuit had not gone unnoticed. As the ship ascended, leaving the prison and the planet behind, Jason, Torres, and Lysara allowed themselves a moment of relief. The mission had changed drastically, from a simple recon to a daring rescue. Jason knew challenges lay ahead, but he also knew they had forged something unbreakable in the fires of their escape. A bond that might just alter the course of their lives. The small, agile extraction ship hurtled through the dark Zarathos sky, putting as much distance as possible between itself and the prison complex. Inside, Captain Jason Drake, Sergeant Rick Torres, and Lysara, still shackled, felt the initial rush of escape give way to the gravity of their situation. Lysara huddled in her seat, rubbing her wrists where the chains had left marks. The dim cabin light cast shadows on her blue face, enhancing her ethereal appearance. Torres kept a watchful eye on the navigational sensors, alert for any signs of pursuit. "Are we clear?" Jason asked, his voice tense as he piloted the ship. Torres scanned the monitors. "Looks like it for now, Captain, but we won't be truly clear until we're out of Zarathos' orbit." Jason nodded, pushing the engines harder. "We need to get you somewhere safe, Lysara. Can you think of anywhere the Kren won't find you?" Lysara's eyes were distant, thoughtful. "There is a place, an abandoned station in the asteroid belt of Solara. It was once a research facility for my people, the Iari. Few know of its existence." Jason considered this. "Solara is not far, but it's risky. It's a known hideout for outlaws and smugglers." Lysara met his gaze. "It's the only place I know that might offer some safety." "Then that's where we'll go," Jason decided, setting the coordinates. As they approached the edge of Zarathos' gravitational pull, an alarm blared. Torres checked the radar. "Damn, we've got company. Looks like a Kren scout ship, fast on our tail." Jason glanced at Lysara. "Hold on, this might get rough." He maneuvered the ship into an asteroid field, hoping to lose their pursuer among the tumbling rocks. The Kren ship was relentless, dodging asteroids with alarming precision. Jason flew the ship with skilled determination, weaving through the rocky hazards. Can you do anything to help? Jason shouted over his shoulder to Lysara. Focusing her energy, Lysara placed her hands on the metal wall of the ship. A soft glow emanated from her fingertips, and the ship's external sensors flickered momentarily. I've disrupted their sensors. It will confuse them for a few minutes, she said, straining under the effort. Good work, Torres cheered, monitoring the pursuing ship faltering on their radar. Using the momentary advantage, Jason executed a daring maneuver, looping behind a large asteroid and changing their trajectory. The Kren ship, blind to their move, continued on its previous course. Breathing a sigh of relief, Jason set a course for the Solara asteroid belt. Nice job back there, both of you. Let's just hope we can stay off their radar until we reach the station. The rest of the journey was tense, with each member of the small crew lost in their thoughts about the future. Lysara, grateful yet somber, knew the hardest part of her escape was perhaps yet to come. She felt a strange bond with these humans who had risked everything to save her, a bond she had not expected to form. As the ship neared the abandoned Iari station, the vastness of space seemed to envelop them with a deceptive peace. The station appeared on the horizon, a silent, ghostly sentinel amidst the swirling rocks of the asteroid field. We're here, Jason announced as they approached the docking bay. Let's get you inside and figure out our next move. As they docked at the station, the weight of their recent escape began to settle in. They were safe for now, but the universe beyond remained a dangerous and uncertain place. However, in that moment, aboard an ancient station lost among the stars, they found an unlikely refuge, a place to pause, to plan, to protect, and perhaps to call home, even if just for a while. Docked at the desolate Iari research station hidden within the chaotic debris of the Solara asteroid belt, Jason, Torres, and Lysara began fortifying their temporary sanctuary. The station, although abandoned, held remnants of Lysara's people's advanced technology, some still operational, which could offer them more than just refuge. It could give them a fighting chance. All right, let's see what we're working with here, Jason said, examining the control panels, dust thick on surfaces that hadn't felt human touch in decades. The dim lights flickered as the station's systems slowly awakened, humming with renewed life. Lysara moved with a sense of familiarity, her hands gliding over the alien symbols, activating systems with a finesse that spoke of her deep connection to this place. This station was a hub of scientific research for my people. There might be defensive measures we can reactivate. Torres kept watch through the station's patched-up security system. We might need those defenses sooner than we thought, he muttered, his eyes scanning the monitors where distant objects moved closer, too structured to be mere asteroids. Jason joined him at the monitor. Kren scouts, he concluded grimly. Looks like they tracked us after all. We need to prepare for a confrontation, Lysara said, her voice steady despite the rising tension. She led them to a chamber deep within the station, revealing a cache of Iari technology, weapons and shields, untouched yet preserved. As they armed themselves, the proximity alarms blared. The Kren had arrived, their scout ships clamping onto the station's outer hatch. The sound of drilling echoed through the metal walls. They were trying to breach the entrance. Positions now, Jason commanded, taking point near the main entryway. Torres set up with a high-powered rifle, taking cover behind a bulkhead, while Lysara focused her energy, her hands glowing with an intense light as she prepared to unleash her powers. The breach was loud and violent. The Kren, armed and merciless, stormed into the station. The corridor lit up with the blaze of gunfire and the eerie glow of Lysara's energy attacks. Jason and Torres worked seamlessly, covering each other, moving as shadows from one cover to the next, while Lysara's abilities disoriented and repelled the Kren soldiers with bursts of raw, kinetic energy. Despite their best efforts, the Kren were relentless. But as the battle raged, Lysara's control over her powers grew stronger. She became the fulcrum of their defense, her energy blasts becoming more targeted and deadly. With a final powerful surge, she pushed a group of Kren back through the breached hatch, giving Jason and Torres the chance to seal it. Breathing heavily, the trio regrouped, assessing their situation. That won't hold them for long, Torres said, reloading his rifle. We need a way out. Jason checked the station's schematics. There's an old service tunnel that leads to a secondary dock. There's a chance it's still operational, and we might have a ship we can use to escape. Lysara nodded. I can buy us some time. My energy can power the station's defense grid, at least temporarily. Then let's move. Jason said, leading the way to the tunnel. As they navigated the narrow, dimly lit passage, the sounds of the Kren trying to breach the station again echoed ominously behind them. Reaching the secondary dock, they found an old iari scout ship, dusty but intact. "Looks like our ride," Jason noted, a hint of relief in his voice as they boarded. Lysara, exhausted from the exertion of her powers, slumped against the wall. Jason and Torres quickly prepped the ship for launch, their actions swift in the silence that followed their narrow escape. As the scout ship detached from the station and drifted into the asteroid field, Jason looked back at the fading lights of the station, a silent testament to Lysara's lost civilization and their fleeting sanctuary. Ahead lay the vast, open expanse of space, their journey far from over, their enemies always just a shadow behind. Navigating through the dense asteroid belt of Solara, the small, antiquated iari scout ship piloted by Jason Drake was barely more than a blip among the tumbling rocks. Inside, the atmosphere was tense as Lysara, regaining her strength, described their next destination. "There is an ancient temple hidden within the Tenebris cluster, a place sacred to my people," Lysara explained, her voice steady despite the ship's occasional shudders from minor collisions. "It is said to hold a power significant enough to deter even the Kren if wielded properly." Rick Torres, checking their coordinates against the star charts, frowned. "Navigating the Tenebris cluster isn't going to be easy. It's a labyrinth of magnetic storms and rogue asteroids." Jason kept his eyes on the controls, adjusting their course to avoid larger asteroids. "We don't have much choice. If there's a chance this temple can give us the edge we need, we have to take it." The journey was perilous. Several times the ship grazed against spinning asteroids, the sound of scraping metal echoing through the cabin. Lysara used her abilities to stabilize the ship's energy core, keeping their systems running despite the external chaos. As they approached the coordinates Lysara had provided, the outline of a massive, dark structure slowly emerged from the shadows of the asteroids. It was an imposing sight, the temple carved out of a single, gigantic asteroid, its surfaces etched with ancient symbols and geometric patterns that glowed faintly with residual energy. "This is it," Lysara breathed, her eyes reflecting the temple's eerie luminescence. Docking at an ancient port on the temple's surface, they donned their spacesuits and ventured into the zero-gravity environment of the asteroid. The temple's interior was vast and somber, the air filled with a palpable sense of history and hidden power. The deeper they went, the more intense the sensation of being watched became. Jason and Torres remained vigilant, their weapons at the ready, while Lysara led them towards the central chamber. Here, the patterns on the walls pulsed gently, reacting to Lysara's presence. Reaching the heart of the temple, they found a large circular chamber with a pedestal in the center. Atop it sat an orb, pulsating with a deep blue light that illuminated the entire room. "This is the source of the temple's power," Lysara explained, her voice echoing off the stone walls. "It can protect us, but activating it is going to require all of my energy and focus." Jason nodded, setting up a defensive perimeter. "We'll cover you. Do what you need to do." As Lysara approached the orb, her hands extended, the symbols on the walls began to move, rearranging themselves into a complex pattern. The air around them thickened, charged with energy as she began the activation ritual. Meanwhile, Torres, monitoring the ship's sensors, cursed softly. "We've got incoming. Looks like the Kren didn't give up on us. They're right on our tail." Jason checked his weapon, his resolve hardening. "Hold them off as long as we can. Lysara, whatever you're going to do it fast." Outside, the sounds of Kren ships docking with the temple resonated through the stone halls. The clash was imminent. As the first of the Kren soldiers burst into the chamber, Jason and Torres engaged them in fierce combat. Blaster fire and energy weapons lit up the darkened room, the sounds of battle a stark contrast to the peaceful hum of the activated orb. Lysara, her concentration unbroken, channeled her energy into the orb. Slowly the room filled with a blinding light, the walls vibrating with unleashed power. The Kren soldiers faltered, overwhelmed by the intensity of the energy surging through the chamber. With a final push of her power, Lysara unleashed the orb's full potential. A wave of force emanated from the orb, sweeping through the temple and out into space, creating a protective shield around the asteroid. The Kren, unable to withstand the power, retreated hastily, their figures disappearing into the darkness of space. Exhausted but alive, Lysara collapsed into Jason's arms, her task completed. The temple's power had saved them, for now. Let's get out of here, Jason said, supporting Lysara. Together, they made their way back to the ship, leaving the ancient temple and its mysteries behind, safe under its newly reawakened defense system. Their journey was far from over, but for the moment they had won a critical victory. With the ancient temple's defenses reactivated and holding the Kren at bay, Jason, Lysara, and Torres made their escape, heading deeper into uncharted space. They needed to find a more permanent solution to the relentless pursuit. Lysara, now somewhat recovered but still visibly drained from the exertion at the temple, suggested a possible course of action. There is a legend among my people about a hidden sanctuary called the Haven of Stars. It's a place of immense power, said to be safe from any foe, Lysara explained, her voice weak, yet filled with hope. If we can find it, we might have a chance to end this pursuit once and for all. Torres, always the skeptic, raised an eyebrow. And how exactly are we supposed to find this mythical place? We barely got out of the last scrape. Lysara turned to the ship's star map, her fingers gliding over the console, bringing up ancient star routes long forgotten by others but preserved in the memories of her people. The path is encrypted in these routes. I can decode them, but it won't be easy, and I'll need strength. Jason nodded. Do what you need to do. We'll make sure you have the time you need. As Lysara worked on decoding the route to the Haven of Stars, Jason and Torres took stock of their dwindling supplies and the ship's condition. It had been a long time since the small scout ship had been intended for such deep space travel, and it showed in every creak and groan of its frame. We need to make a stop for supplies and maybe some repairs, Jason concluded, checking the ship's fuel and food reserves. The nearest friendly outpost is on Thetis 9. It's a small mining colony, but they're good people. They might help us. With the course set for Thetis 9, the trio braced themselves for any potential dangers, knowing that the Kren might still be tracking them. However, their arrival at Thetis 9 was uneventful, and the colonists welcomed them warmly, sympathetic to their plight. While the ship was being refueled and resupplied, Jason and Torres took turns guarding Lysara, who continued her work decoding the ancient star routes. Days turned into nights, and just when the hope of finding the Haven of Stars began to dim, Lysara's efforts bore fruit. I've found it, the route to the Haven of Stars, she exclaimed one evening, her face lit by the glow of the star map. We can leave as soon as the ship is ready. Their preparations were cut short by an urgent alert from the colony's perimeter defense system. The Kren had found them, and this time, they had brought reinforcements. A squadron of Kren warships descended on Thetis 9, their intent clear. We need to hold them off long enough to get out of here, Jason said, rallying the colonists and his team. Everyone, to your positions. A fierce battle erupted on the surface of Thetis 9. Jason, Torres, and the miners fought valiantly, using the colony's defense turrets and any available weaponry to fend off the Kren invaders. Meanwhile, Lysara focused her remaining energy on speeding up the ship's launch preparations. The Kren were relentless, but the miners of Thetis 9 were resilient, their lives shaped by the harsh realities of space. They pushed the Kren back, inflicting heavy casualties. Just as the tide of battle seemed to turn in their favor, a massive Kren cruiser broke through the colony's defenses, targeting the area near their docked ship. It's now or never, Torres yelled over the din of the battle. We have to go. With Lysara barely managing to walk, they sprinted towards their ship, dodging debris and blasts. They launched just as the cruiser's weapons began to obliterate the colony's main structures, the explosion's shockwave propelling them faster into space. As they set the coordinates for the Haven of Stars, the weight of their narrow escape and the sacrifices of the Thetis 9 colonists hung heavy in the air. But ahead lay the promise of safety, a hope that the Haven of Stars would be the end of their harrowing journey. With the coordinates set and the small scout ship hurtling through space, Jason, Lysara, and Torres prepared themselves for what they hoped would be the final leg of their perilous journey. The Haven of Stars was not just a sanctuary, it was a fortress, hidden by ancient technologies that made it invisible to unwanted eyes. As they neared the supposed location of the haven, Lysara's condition worsened. The strain of decoding the ancient routes and using her powers so extensively had taken a toll. Her once vibrant blue skin now appeared pale and dull. Concerned, Jason kept a close eye on her, providing comfort and reassurance. We're almost there, Lysara. Just hold on a little longer, he said gently, taking her hand. Lysara managed a weak smile. I never thought I'd find friends like you and Torres. No matter what happens, thank you. Torres, who had been checking their defensive systems, chimed in gruffly. Don't start with goodbyes yet. We're not out of this. I didn't fight off those Kren just to give up now. As they approached the last set of coordinates, the space around them started to shimmer and distort, the first sign they were nearing the haven. Then, without warning, a massive energy pulse swept through space, rocking their ship violently. "We've triggered a defense mechanism," Lysara exclaimed, struggling to her feet. "I need to deactivate it, or it will tear the ship apart." Jason helped her to the console, where she quickly began typing in sequences of her native language, her fingers a blur. Slowly, the turbulence outside eased, and the space around them stabilized, revealing a colossal structure floating amidst a nebula. The Haven of Stars, shrouded in celestial mist, its architecture a blend of elegance and power. But their relief was short-lived. Emerging from the nebula, a Kren battleship, larger than any they had encountered before, made its ominous approach. They had been followed, and the Kren were desperate to end their chase. "This is it," Jason said, loading his weapon and checking the ship's armaments. "We make our stand here. Lysara, can you activate the Haven's defenses?" With the last of her strength, Lysara interfaced with the Haven's systems. Ancient mechanisms awakened, and powerful turrets emerged from the structure, targeting the Kren battleship. The battle that ensued was fierce. Energy beams and missiles crossed the void, the Haven's ancient weapons clashing with the advanced technology of the Kren. Inside the ship, Jason and Torres felt each impact as their own defenses held against the barrage. Meanwhile, Lysara, connected to the Haven's core, channeled her energy into activating the main defensive shield. A brilliant aura enveloped the sanctuary, deflecting the Kren's attacks and slowly overpowering their systems. With a final, determined push, Lysara unleashed the full power of the Haven. A massive pulse of energy erupted, sweeping across space and striking the Kren battleship with devastating force. The battleship, unable to withstand the onslaught, shattered into fragments, drifting like dust in the cosmic wind. Exhausted, Lysara collapsed, her task completed. Jason and Torres rushed to her side, lifting her gently. "You did it, Lysara. You saved us all," Jason said, his voice thick with emotion. As they carried her into the heart of the Haven, the sanctuary's systems hummed around them, a song of peace and protection. Lysara's breathing steadied, her color slowly returning as the Haven's healing technologies took effect. They had found safety at last, their journey at an end. But as they looked out at the stars, they knew the galaxy was still full of danger and wonder. Yet in that moment, within the walls of the ancient sanctuary, they found a moment of peace, a brief respite in the vast, unending expanse of space. They had come together by chance, but they would stay together by choice, ready to face whatever the future held. The Haven of Stars, now calm and secure, hummed with the energy of ancient technology. Jason, Torres, and Lysara, having finally found a moment of peace, took the time to explore their new sanctuary. The station was vast, filled with archives of knowledge and history of Lysara's people, the Iari. As Lysara regained her strength, she began to teach Jason and Torres about her culture and the capabilities of the Haven. In the main control room, an expansive view of the nebula outside provided a backdrop for their new life. Lysara stood before the large, transparent panels, her hands linked to the console, interfacing with the station's systems. "The Haven isn't just a place to hide," she explained. "It's a place of learning, of power. It can be a beacon for all who seek knowledge and refuge." Jason watched her with admiration. "You turned what was a chase for survival into a victory for your heritage. What do you want to do now?" Lysara's face lit up with a sense of purpose. "We have an opportunity to rebuild what was lost, to gather scattered Iari and others who seek peace. We can create a new community right here." Torres, ever the pragmatist, chimed in. "It's going to take more than just us to manage a place like this. We'll need to set up defenses, supplies, communications." "And we will," Jason said confidently. "With the Kren's threat diminished, at least for now, we can reach out, make alliances. But this time, we do it on our terms." The following weeks turned into months as they worked to establish the Haven as a recognized sanctuary in the galaxy. Ships from various planets and civilizations began to visit, some curious, others seeking knowledge or sanctuary. The Haven's reputation grew, not only as a powerful fortress, but as a center of learning and diplomacy. Lysara took on the role of the Haven's leader, her natural abilities and heritage making her a figure of reverence and respect. Jason, with his extensive experience in interstellar operations, coordinated their defenses and exploration missions. Torres, with his knack for logistics and maintenance, ensured that the haven ran smoothly. As the haven thrived, so did their relationships with each other and with the visitors from across the stars. They established a council, representing all who lived in the haven, to ensure that every voice was heard, every culture respected. It was a new way of life, a community built on the foundations of diversity and unity. One evening, as they watched a comet pass by from the observation deck, Jason reflected on their journey. I used to think my purpose was to fight, to survive. But this, he gestured to the bustling corridors and the vibrant community beyond. This is something worth more than just surviving for. It's something worth living for. Lysara smiled, taking his hand. And to think, it all started with an unlikely escape and an even more unlikely friendship. Torres, joining them with a rare smile, added, Here's to the new beginnings. May the haven be a testament to what we can achieve when we stand together. As they looked out at the vastness of space, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The haven of stars, once just a myth, now a reality, stood as a beacon of hope and a symbol of a new beginning for all who sought peace in a tumultuous galaxy. It was their home, their mission, and their promise to the future, a promise of sanctuary, knowledge, and unity.